was awesome, wasn't it? Good morning, good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Fort Myers in person and on Zoom. If you are looking for a congregation that encourages a commitment to your personal faith and seeking a place that will accommodate you and your family in a space of diversity and inclusion, then look no further. We are in the process of renewing our Welcoming Congregation certification. The Welcoming Congregation program is a volunteer program for congregations that want to take intentional steps to be more welcoming and inclusive of people of all sexual orientations and gender identities. We want to create a safe space for everyone to be their authentic self. Be you, love whoever you want to love, be cis or transgender, be gay, straight, bi, queer, questioning, intersex, asexual, pansexual, and two-spirit. We love all of you. And please join Marge and Kat in a special Zoom discussion tomorrow, Monday, April 21st at 6 p.m. about Bryn Tannenhell's talk on the similarities between the language used by Trump and the far right to demonize transgender people. It's both shocking and informative. I listened to the video yesterday. It was an hour and 45 minutes long. It is powerful. You really want to listen to it. And if you have any doubt that transphobia is being amplified as a weapon of fascism and authoritarianism, this presentation will set those doubts to rest. The video can be found in the April UUCFM communicator. And if you want to get the Zoom link for the discussion on Monday, please email, very easy email to remember, all one word, Equal Rights Committee at UUCFM. That's the Equal Rights Committee, all one word, at UUCFM. Our mission is to love, grow, and serve. My name is Jennifer Grant, and I am your worship associate this morning. As president of our board of trustees, I have pledged to be transparent with our congregation. And I share the pulpit today with Reverend Sue, who as of this weekend has made her transition with her husband Ulysses to make Fort Myers their home while serving as our minister. Woo! So I know Ulysses is not here. Is he listening via Zoom? So I say, Reverend Sue and Ulysses, welcome home, or Benvenido a casa. I worked on that. I learned that from Google. So I also share the service with our music director, John Dalton, our organist, Jeff Letts, and our small but mighty choir. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, they were great this morning. And I also want to extend gratitude to our fabulous tech team who makes all of this possible. There's a lot of behind the scenes work that you cannot see. That you cannot see that to create a blended live and Zoom service. It is good to be with you today. And do we have any guests or visitors with us? Any guests or visitors? Welcome, welcome, a special welcome. Hopefully you picked up a welcome connection card on your way into the sanctuary. And if you are joining us virtually, I always look up, please find the connection card in the chat box. The most important gift you can give us is a chance to get to know you. Members may also use this card for a change in address information or a caring concern that you want our pastoral care associates or Reverend Sue to address. For those joining us by Zoom, we ask that you please keep your microphones muted and refrain from sending chat messages unless asked to do so. And now, let our service begin.
Good morning. We come to love a congregation, the traditions, the history, and especially the people associated with it. And through these people, young and old, known and unknown, we reach out, both backward into our history and forward into the future, to link together the generations in this imperfect but blessed community of memories and of hope. Let us worship together.
My chalice lighting today is Letting Go by Joe Wolin. Two hands gracefully reach upward, palms open and fingers relaxed. Are we a people of holding on or letting go? Holding on to rigid ideas or letting go and opening our minds and hearts to something new? Holding on to certainty of how things should be or letting go and living with uncertainty of new ways of being in the world? Holding on to what makes us comfortable or letting go so we may grow, which can be uncomfortable. Holding on to what makes us safe or letting go to make room to help others feel safe. With this flame, this symbol of our religion, let it be a symbol of burning up the ties that hold us back from being our true self and reaching our true potential. Let it be a symbol of lighting a new way for us into a better tomorrow. And let it be a symbol of letting go. Because holding on too long and too tightly is never good for the soul.
Please rise as you are able and join with me in our covenant. Love is the spirit of this congregation and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Our opening hymn is number 103 in the gray hymnal, For All the Saints. So I have a story, and I see there are no children here. I hope that someday soon there will be. But I'm still going to read it because often wisdom comes. You may come, children at heart, because often wisdom comes in the form of simple story, much stronger than the words that we craft. So this book is entitled Milo and the Magical Stones. And thank you, Allie, for finding this message and enabling people on Zoom to see it and all of you to see it on the screen. So in the middle of the sea, there was an island, and on this island lived Milo and the cliff mice. They loved their island. It provided them with food and shelter and protection from the rough storms that pounded the waves against the cliff. During the summer, Milo and his friends worked hard gathering food. Sometimes they would take a break from their work and skip the flat stones out over the sea. In the evenings, the mice would stretch out on the cliffs that had been warmed by the sun and watch the stars in the night sky. If it was warm enough, they would spend the entire night outside, telling stories and enjoying the mild summer air. But when the first winter storms arrived, the mice would spend most of their time huddled in the dark, damp caves, dreaming of the light and the warmth. After one of these storms, Milo crept out of his cave looking for food. He poked his nose curiously into every crevice. Then, in a particularly deep crevice, he saw something extraordinary, a strange glowing stone. Using a long stick, he carefully pried it out and carried it back to his cave. Milo was amazed to see that the darker it got, the more brightly the stone glowed. And not only that did it provide light, it also gave off a comforting warmth. Happily, Milo curled up in the corner of his cave with his treasure. But he was not alone for long, because the bright light soon attracted the other mice. They all wanted stones of their own, and they asked Milo to show them where he had found his. But as they were about to set off, Balthazar stood up and spoke. He said, "Don't forget, the stones belong to the island, and if you take something from the island, you must give something in return." There are two ways that this story can end. One is sad, and one is happy. I'm going to read the sad story because I think it's important for us to learn, and then we'll end with the happy ending. So here's the sad ending. Only Milo heeded Balthazar's warning. He immediately began to think about what gift he could give to the island. But the other mice hurried off to find the glowing stones. They squeezed into the tunnel and started digging wildly. Using sharp rocks, they chipped away at the walls of the tunnel. They tossed the smaller stones aside. They only wanted the biggest ones. Then the mice dragged the glowing stones into their caves, and they grew greedy and jealous and spent so much time worrying about who had the most stones that they couldn't even enjoy the comfort of the stones. Milo watched his friends sadly. He worried about what Balthazar had said and wondered what would happen. He sighed. There's nothing he could do but go back to work on the gift that he had thought of to give back to the island. Soon the mice decided that they needed more of the magical stones. They crept back into the tunnels and dug day and night, pulling the magical stones in and around their caves into the whole island was glowing. They boasted about their stones and argued about who had the most, the biggest, and the brightest. The mice were consumed with greed, and as they dug deeper, the deeper the walls, the deeper they dug, the walls of the mountain began to get thinner, and before long, the whole mountain was hollowed out completely. And then suddenly, with a thunderous roar, the mountain collapsed. Giant boulders fell, burying the tunnels in a heap of rubble. Waves pounded against the shore, flooding most of the island. Only one cave was left. Inside, Milo and Balthazar crouched trembling in a corner. "The stones could have brought such happiness," said Balthazar quietly. As he spoke, Milo went back to work, carving a stone to give to the island in thanks for its magical gift. Should we leave it there?
No.
It's not a very fun ending. It might be something that we can picture happening, though.
Yeah.
Maybe there's an alternative. Let's see what Milo says in the happy ending version. I like happy endings. "Balthazar is right," said Milo. But what could Milo give to the island? He thought about it for many days, until at last he had an idea. He went to the shore where the sea washed up all kinds of stones, like the ones we share here. He looked for one that was about the same size as the one that he had taken. He sat down and started chipping away at the stone. Curious, the other mice gathered around, and Milo worked for hours until he had carved a beautiful sun into the stone. Then Milo led his friends to the hidden crevice in the mountain to put his carved stone in the place where he had found the glowing stone. The other mice began digging. Directly below the crevice, they found a tunnel that ran deep into the mountain. And the further into the mountain they went, the more glowing stones they found. Each mouse took one and carefully carried it home. Then, like Milo, they found ordinary stones along the shore and started to decorate them. Some mice carved, etched, or drew on their stones. Others wrapped them or decorated them with flowers and leaves and roots. They created beautiful works of art, then carried them into the mountain and placed their gifts where they had found the glowing stones. From then on, the windy winter weather did not bother the mice, who snuggled happily in their bright, warm caves. Often they got together and told stories, just like they did in the summertime. These gatherings made the long, cold nights seem shorter and winter less damp and dark. Every year, the mice celebrated the beginning of winter. They met in Balthazar's cave and danced and sang. And when it got dark, they took the magical stones on a parade along the cliff to pay special tribute to their beloved island. Be happy ending. Thank you for coming.
A small child. Does she know?
I don't know.
Please join me in our responsive reading. Number 733, the words will also be on the screen. I will start and then you will respond. A place of meeting. Out of wood and stone, out of dreams and sacrifice, the people built a home. Out of the work of their hands and hearts and minds, the people fashioned a symbol and a reality.
May this house be truly a place of meeting, meeting one another in warmth and joy and openness, meeting one another in courage and love and trust.
May all who enter here trust one another so surely that they dare to share the deep fires that burst into anger, as much as the sweet spring waters that swell into laughter, that slow erosion of wounded tears, as much as a soaring song.
May these walls know silence, as a hungry heart search inward, each for its own small spark.
May these rafters hear the voice of the child, as surely as that of the orator, and the sounds of the lute, the clack of the typewriter, the swish of the broom, and know that they are as holy as the shouts of a million stars. Thank you. So if you have a stone this morning, we're going to honor Milo. I invite you to hold that stone in your hand, close to your heart. During the musical meditation, come forward to place your stone in the bowls with others in this extended beloved community. Allow your stone to symbolize your intentions, your reflections, prayers, joys, sorrows, or milestones in your life. For those of you on Zoom, if you would like your joys and sorrows to be shared with our caring team, please share in the chat. You may also click the green button on this page to place your stone of intentions this morning for those of you on Zoom. I will place the first 3 stones this morning. The first stone will be a stone of peace for all the innocent victims of war in Ukraine, Israel, Palestine, and in the Gaza Strip. The second stone will be for the UUCFM community. We are a community of resilience and survival. This third stone represents our future at UUCFM. What will we become?
I'll place a final stone, the shiniest one I could find. Maybe like the stone that Milo first found, that brought warmth and comfort. For all that we hold in our hearts, let us be mindful of the power of love and of community to heal and to uphold life. Blessed be and amen. Let us join our hearts in the spirit of prayer and meditation. Spirit of love and life in this spring season of beginnings. Some of us are hurried and harried. Some of us feel sorrowful and afraid. Some of us are not yet ready to step forward into the future. May we minister to one another with wisdom, meeting each other with open ears and open eyes and open hearts. In this season of beginnings, some of us are celebrating triumphs and joys. Some of us feel whole and happy. Some of us are eager and excited, curious to see what comes next. Let us each, as we are able, join in one another's happiness and enthusiasm. Quiet spirit of love and life, bring us the grace to share wholly and faithfully in the lives of all who are around us. Blessed be and amen. Please feel comfortable to stay seated as we sing our reflective hymn, number 1002 in your teal hymnal or on the screen, Comfort Me.
Comfort
the Unitarian Universalist General Assemblies some years back, I was a facilitator for what people considered to be a new way of organizing, a new way to motivate groups and to get people together. It was called open space. It really was a misnomer because it really had nothing to do with space. But the concept of open space provided a simple means for people to self-organize. Its underlying principles make it effective for meetings and as a guidepost of how people can be effective. The law of this open space has two sides, two hands, 2 feet, two sides, one for passion and one for responsibility. It expresses the core idea of taking responsibility for what you love. In practical terms, honestly, the law says that if you are neither contributing nor getting value where you are, then you should use whatever means you have to move, to change your position. Do something about whatever it is that you're not getting or not giving. It's a reminder to be firm in your passion, that you are responsible. It focuses energy on the vision dreamed and making it happen, and it doesn't waste any energy on the what ifs, the long list that we always have of what ifs. If only. It doesn't worry or second guess, and it has 4 rules for when you gather. A meeting, an organization, a whole movement. Here are the principles. Whoever comes is the right people. So you don't spend time wondering or worrying about who's not here, who didn't show up, who should be here. Whoever's here are the right people. Whatever happens is probably the only thing that could have. Whenever it starts, it's the right time. And when it's over, it's over. It's that simple. So with that foundation, I want to thank each and every one of you for being here, for recognizing your passion, for using whatever it is you have and your choice to move you to being here and being responsible for being part of this amazing community. So thank you. You are all the right people in the right moment. I've been thinking about all the amazing things that have happened here in the last few years. First of all, you're still here. Did you know that during and since the pandemic, more than 200 Unitarian Universalist congregations have closed their doors permanently? 200 communities like yours that don't gather together anymore. We are still here. We are small and mighty, and perhaps the choir reflects this larger congregational trend. We are home to Reset and all the amazing events that happen for the community, ours and beyond. We are the home to Cups, Unitarian Universalist pagans who would have no other place to go and to worship in the way that feeds their spirits and their souls. We are home, of course, to the symphony, the Boy Scouts, the community garden. The Quakers are coming. All that we do together. Band book library, food pantry, it goes on. But like open space, there is almost always another side, another hand. You have also dealt with very challenging things, issues in these last years. And I will never be afraid of putting the elephant in the middle of the room so that we can talk about it. There has been a lack of ministerial leadership here. You have endured failed searches and searches that produced leadership that was not healthy and that hurt you. There have been failed agreements and conflict among congregants, unbalanced budgets, challenges in sharing our space with children and adults and symphonies and others. It has not been easy. 2 weeks ago, after I was here, I drove north to one of the congregations I previously served in order to preach in the morning and an afternoon installation and ordination service. And what I know about them is that they have almost exactly the same challenges. What does that mean? I can recycle the sermon. No, that's not what it means. What it means is that we're not alone. We're not alone. And so we get to learn aside other congregations, and we get to gather our hope from them. I preached a lot about hope 2 weeks ago for them and the vision that their congregation has and imagining what their new future will bring. And we are so lucky that we are part of an evolutionary religion, one that is not controlled by scripture or archaic traditions or a hierarchical boss in some office in Boston in our case. We have a history of evolving, and this evolution is the gift of our future. We are also so lucky to have strong leadership. We just transitioned our board a few weeks ago, right? We were here together, now led by Jennifer Grant, who told me in conversation that her number one priority is to be transparent with the congregation. How refreshing is that as a goal for a president? She has spoken from this pulpit and shared that if this congregation doesn't take some action, we may end up in a few years on the UU list of casualties. But there is good news. Did you know that that's what the word gospel means? I get to bring you the gospel today. I'm bringing you the good news. We are taking action, and we are unified in our will to maintain and create a bright future. The Board of Trustees and what we call the FUUture's team have decided to enter into partnership with an organization called Partners for Sacred Places. They will help us identify how we can turn our rich assets into income-producing assets, perhaps, so that we can exist as a congregation into the future. History shows ups and downs in this congregation and many others, in membership, in ministerial leadership, in financial stability. Often these trends mirror the economy in the country, the political climate in the country. And always when things feel low, they point to times in a congregation where the vision was not strong enough, where there was a low level of hope or inspiration for the future. If, in fact, the church health or the congregational health does, in fact, reflect the health of the community, we are at a crossroads. Like Milo and his community, we have the opportunity to choose. We can choose to move forward, to dare to dream, to become the natural and political oasis that we are, or not. We get to choose the happy or the sad ending. If we choose the sad ending, I wonder. And I wonder this for the 200 communities who no longer have Unitarian Universalist presence. Where will the liberal thinkers gather? One of you said to me today, the men's group gathered this week and there were 10 of us. How often does it happen that 10 men to get together and not have to worry at all about what they say or who they are or how they are because they're safe? Where will the liberal thinkers gather? Where will it be safe to worship the religion of the future? Where will our gay and lesbian, bisexual, and transgender siblings be joined in holy and spiritual and legal matrimony? For that matter, where will they feel safe enough to worship, to hold hands, to wail over their departed loved one? Where will the children who can't embrace the Christian faith of their classmates find answers, direction, support? Where will they learn about their bodies and sex and morality and life choices in a supportive and non-judgmental and an empowering way? Where will the people that we help every week when we share the plate be left? Where will we learn to take positions like in life? Where will the seeds of peace have a place to blossom? I wonder if we choose the sad ending. I know it's hard, and I know we can't afford it, whatever it is. And I know that there are visionaries and there are details people, the number crunchers and the reality reminders. We need each other. I'm looking at Patty. She's always got the numbers. We need the challenge of our diversity to collectively and intentionally weave our vision into a new plan that goes beyond COVID, goes beyond political conservatism that we endure every day here, goes beyond the prevalence of what the New York Times and the public media says is the growing sense of nuns, and those are not the ones with habits in the Catholic Church, the nuns who believe nothing. They don't affiliate with any kind of spirituality or faith community. As a visionary, and that's the category I usually land in, I try to do the numbers, but not so well. I need to listen to the numbers people, to stretch, to understand how we can make a future happen and what the limits might be. For those of you who consider yourself curmudgeons and you know who you are, you need to open your eyes. Fill it with imagination and vision and stretch to choose the happy ending, knowing that without the leap, it's hard to move forward. We'll catch you. You must garner all your faith. Brace yourself. We have come to a threshold with intention, with the benefit of a long history of amazing things. I don't know where Roy is, but he compiled some history in a really easy to read format. And I know Suzanne has put together the long comprehensive history, but reading the bullet points that Roy put together, I thought, wow, just look at what this congregation has done. The FUUture committee has and will continue to study. We will ask you, we will research, we will come to understand what the reality and opportunities in this moment are. Everything's on the table. Yep. From one under the other. The whole continuum of how we move forward. But we are clear that we need to change in order to survive. We need to evolve. At today's circle, we gather the whole team of folks involved in worship, the choir. We Zoom Allie in by WhatsApp, all the tech folks, and we say, what makes us hopeful? That was our question today. And we share with one another, what makes us hopeful? Someone said it was Darwin's theory of evolution. Well, guess what? It is our opportunity to evolve that can keep us hopeful. We have to find a vision. I love this definition. Vision is the congregation's story imagined, but yet to unfold. It's not an ideal future that we can picture. It is the core story that relates our congregation's history and faith with its present and with its imagined future. And when I'm working with folks who are struggling, often when there has to be a transition, when they have to give something up, let something go, as we heard in our chalice lighting, it's so easy for us to only imagine the worst case scenario. We're going to lose our job. We're going to be devastated. We're not going to have enough money. We're not going to be able to pay our bills. We're not going to be able to pay for our house. We won't have enough food to eat. We can easily picture all the worst case scenarios. But guess what? We can equally imagine the best case scenarios as well. We might lose our job, but who knew that the next day a new, more brilliant, more fulfilling, more economically sustainable job comes along, and you're free to take that job now. It's the same in a congregation. We can imagine the worst case scenario because maybe we don't have enough money to keep going in this way. Or we can imagine the best case scenario of what we can do together. So I'm happy to say there is a plan. The FUUture's team will begin work next week with this consulting group. They're coming. They're from Pennsylvania. They do amazing work. They help churches understand their physical assets and use them in ways that serve the congregation and the greater community in a sustainable way. Because we know we are land rich and cash poor. Partners for Sacred Places will help us envision a future that utilizes the assets we have. And I know we have many more assets in you, but we're talking about our physical stuff. They will help us create a compelling history statement about where we are and how we are needed in the community. They'll help us identify our assets and create partnerships and financial support from the outside so that money comes in, not just from those of you who are sitting here, but outside. They will help us launch a capital campaign if that's what we want, or collaborate in creative ways with other organizations in the community. They will create or help us create foundation, write persuasive grants, and fundraise. It would be nice just to think that we can go along in the same way that we always have, and that our challenges will be solved by faith, or maybe by your planned giving. But since I'd like to have you all around for as long as possible, we need a plan B. We need a plan that's as realistic as the number crunchers and as inspirational as the visionaries. So I invite you, those of you who are here, who are all the right people to be here today, who are ready to begin to open your hearts, to stretch your perspective, to get ready to be seriously inspired and wowed as this FUUture's committee does its work. And do you know that they meet every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock? How dedicated is that? Every Saturday morning. The new board will meet together for retreat in a couple of weeks, and they will plan our goals for the year. We'll take a look at how we might be visionaries who leave behind a legacy like Milo's intact and thriving island. How we will leave behind a legacy that ensures that we will be here in 100 years. and we will have a future. Our first work with Partners for Sacred Places is to discover and to make sure that all of us know what our assets are. First, the board and the FUUture team, and so we took some of those Saturdays and we walked the property, not only outside, but inside. We crawled into the nooks and crannies. Did you know there is an attic here? Many of us discovered things that we did not know existed. It was suggested that we invite all of you to make this tour as well, but we know that many of you may not be able or have the hours to spend to do that. So we have put together a little virtual tour for you of the built part of our campus. We do hope that you will explore the unbuilt part of our campus when you're able. It is an amazing place, and I can't wait to see what the future brings. Can you all see that? Or should I read it? Thank you, Allie. So welcome to a quick and incomplete tour of our campus. Here's a bird's eye view of our main campus. We have 12 acres of beautiful land once inhabited by the Mississippi and Seminole people. We are also home to the Gulf Coast Symphony's Music and Art Center, the MAC, and they share our existing spaces. This is our sanctuary and bell tower, the view from the campus entrance. The administration building, we have visual doorbells, biometric locks, cameras throughout the campus for security. Our administration office and our amazing Sarah. Our volunteer space. Thank you, Mary Studer. She graces every Tuesday our space. Office space, and for the building supervisor, a FUUture director for religious education, and music director. Congregational office space. We have lots of office resources for staff. Our library, tended so lovingly, and conference room named in honor of Virginia Seaman in 1965. The Southwest Courtyard, the minister's office. Now you know where to find me. I'm in trouble. That's me, and the beautiful flowers from you all. The campus buildings are joined by a covered walkway encircling the center courtyard. And here we are in Miller Sanctuary, from the outside looking east. Dedicated to Reverend William Burnside Miller, 1997. The narthex, a multi-purpose lobby space of the sanctuary used for all different kinds of activities. There are accessible bathrooms on both sides, as well as storage. I don't have to explain that. Our sanctuary, in a different format, ready for the symphony's performance. The symphony has installed nearly $200,000 worth of tech equipment, some of it pictured here. Behind you is the sanctuary wiggle room that doubles as the bride's room for wedding ceremonies. Some of you might not even know that the garden in front is a memorial garden, west here of the sanctuary. There are walls of memorial tiles and the remains of many of us scattered in the memorial garden. We have a statue garden on this side. For a while it was so overgrown I didn't know that there were statues there, but there are. And the beautiful courtyard in the center toward Hobart Hall looking northward, our laughing Buddha. Hobart Hall, which is the general purpose facility for the congregation and events, community events, music practices, large meetings, and the blessing of the animals service. Just a fraction of what's offered there. We have accessible, gender-neutral restrooms. Both Hobart Hall and the sanctuary meet all the ADA requirements. That's no small thing. We have an industrial-equipped Hobart's industrially equipped kitchen with an industrial-equipped dishwasher to help mostly the men who clean up. We have deep freezer, storage, we even have laundry facilities. Thank goodness, I sent my robe back to myself from New Hampshire. It was a wrinkled mess this morning, and I said, oh, I can throw it in the dryer for a few minutes, and it's not quite so horrible. The screen room, east of and adjacent to Hobart Hall, used for many different kinds of activities. We have 7 classrooms. The classrooms overlook our northern nature preserve. They're multimedia capable with internet access and have furniture that is not fixed so it can be moved and used in all different ways. We have classrooms designed for children. And our campus security measures make our classrooms, all of them, and our spaces safe for the people who are here. We have a brand new playground. It's hardly ever been used. Go visit it. Bring your grandchildren there. Accessible restrooms throughout the campus. We're home to the Southwest Florida Reset Center. We have green space. You're welcome at any time for meditation in the center of our buildings and of course beyond. The Quakers are coming. The Fort Myers Friends will be breaking ground soon for their new meeting house in the Holton Eco Preserve. That's a rendition of what the building will look like. There is a whole outdoors to explore beyond the built area of our campus that includes the Paul Holton Eco Preserve, a community garden, space for the Boy Scouts, a vibrant pond, amphitheater for outdoor lectures and music, a labyrinth, hiking trails around the lake, and much more. So we invite you to take a walk today after our service and see what you might have been missing. Thank you to Allie and to Bill who helped put this virtual tour together. Jennifer, you're up. And I'm sorry, we're going to be a couple minutes late today. Jennifer will speak first.
That was awesome. Here at the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Fort Myers, we give generously with love to our congregation, and we donate all of our undesignated funds collected during the offering to a different charity every month. During the month of April, our community sharing recipient is South Fort Myers Food Pantry Coalition. Their mission is to feed the needy of South Fort Myers area, including Sanibel and Captiva. Feeding Hope, Nourishing Lives, South Fort Myers Food Pantry believes that every person in our community deserves access to fresh, nutritious food. For every member who brings 2 cans of non-perishable food, you will be entered into a drawing to win a $25 gift certificate to La Ola at Bell Towers. See Liz Carnelli after the service in Hobart Hall. You can still bring in the canned goods next Sunday as well. If you want to donate to our congregation, you can write an old-fashioned check and put UUCFM in the memo line, or use an envelope and check UUCFM. For our Zoom members, you may log into uucfm.org and press the orange button to donate virtually. Please designate if you are donating to UUCFM or South Fort Myers Pantry Coalition, or provide the percentage of your donation. The offering will now be generously given and graciously received.
Please rise as you are able. You go. As we receive this morning's offering. By the work of our hands and the work of our hearts, our love is made real. May we be grateful for all that is given and grateful for all that is shared. Let us extinguish the chalice with the words we say each week. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth. The warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Our closing hymn is number 1030. Please use the words that you see on the screen. Sia hamba. Ushers, raise your hand. Who are the ushers here? Raise your hand. Listen up, this is for you. The poet Annie Dillard wrote, "When people come to church, they should not be handed an order of service with a smile, but instead should be given hard hats and life preservers. Because church should be a dangerous place, a zone of risk, a place of new birth and new life, where we confront ourselves with who we truly are and who the congregation is calling us to be. Let us all go in peace."
And thank you for being with us today. Join us in Hobart Hall after the service for coffee and conversation. There will be a social hour on Zoom this Sunday led by Kat. Thank you, Kat. Please feel free to greet your neighbor and exit the service during the postlude after Reverend Sue and myself had had a chance to make our way back to the end of the sanctuary.